Jonathan Kim has impeccable form. He lifts the whole team with his leg, not with his back. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the senior pallbearer at Joel Ferguson's funeral, Kevin Greck, and the guy who's in Atlanta on the eve of his first wedding anniversary, Alex Plum. Gentlemen, it seems like it's not just Joel's who's gone. Your relationship as well.
Correct. Two funerals this week.
I didn't realize you were so close to Joel Ferguson. That's great. Good for you.
I didn't realize you could be a senior pallbearer. I thought we were all just holding up the casket. I had no idea.
Yeah, front left position is the senior. Yeah, that's well.
Wow. No one's ever asked me to be the senior pallbearer, I don't think. That's so. Joel, to you, buddy. To you.
Won't be toasting to that. No, I am in Atlanta for work, and my husband is lovely and not very much not foreboding and gracious, but I will be hearing about it tomorrow. So, oopsie doops.
It's fine. You're also taking the time to record with us, which I'm sure he appreciates.
Yes, he does, and
I think that
my two
it's offsetting.
Offsetting.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good. Very good.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. And if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans Your Life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. If you want to be the Can't Read, Can't Write head of all Can't Read, Can't Write heads, go ahead and head over to YouTube at Spartan_pod. Give this show a like. Give us a subscribe. Apparently, you can click a little bell, and you'll find out when the podcast drops, because it's always a surprise when it might come. It could be days after recording. Who's to say?
Okay. Yeah, that's hurtful. Continue. Also, who calls them Can't Read, Can't Write heads?
I don't know. It was in the moment.
Than that.
Oh, you know what you can do? You can comment on this video and tell us what you should be called if you are a listener of the show, other than a dumbass.
Yeah, did the people get their haikus last week?
Yeah, I was like, shit. How many haikus am I gotta work on this? This is not good. It's not good.
You're in a haiku deficit over there, bud. Come on.
I am.
Dig yourself out of this hole.
Greg, let's give the fine folks a rundown of the show. Then I do think we should talk about our not sponsor Mike Jones's gift to us and whether he actually cares for us as human beings. But
indeed,
what do we got the show?
Michael Jones. We start behind the green wall, where football always leads, and this week it feels pretty good because your Spartans have gone ahead and vanquished the Iowa Hawkeye. From there, we'll talk about some other sports off campus there. Women's soccer, hockey, of course, got to win this week. Then we'll go off Grand River, where some coaches are hanging it up. And that's alarming, given that basketball starts in a week and a half. We'll preview Wolverines because it's hate week, and Wolverines are stupid, almost as stupid as naming your team after a hawk's eye, which is quite dumb. And then, as always, we will take your Twitter questions.
All right. Before we dig into the show, we of course want to shout out our dear friend Mike Jones, who provides us with some fine liquors to sip and taste. This week, if you're new to the show, he bottled up several spirits, like 30 of them. Didn't tell us what they are, and we are being forced to drink them. And this week, we've got 22, which is clear in color and easy on nothing else. It is.
Have you sipped this yet?
I have. It's clearly a tequila of some kind, maybe a mezcal. I don't think so.
It's got a mezcal-y type smell to it, but it doesn't quite taste like it. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling 22. So
Okay.
I'll just see myself out after that.
You know who wasn't feeling 22 is the Hawkeyes because they couldn't even score 22 points. MSU defeats them 32-20 at Spartan Stadium under the lights for homecoming in what I will say is the win that gave me the most joy since 2021. It was a resounding defeat of the Hawkeyes, despite the score makes it seem closer, I think, even than the game actually was.
Agree.
So MSU dominated on both sides of the ball in the trenches, which is something we'd seen excellence out of our defensive front on the run game, but we knew Iowa has truly a beast of a running back who would have been held to like 23 yards, but for one very long run. They really bottled him up. And then on the opposite side, MSU ran the ball with authority that we haven't even seen against FCS opponents. Like they didn't run the ball this well against Prairie View.
Correct.
So,
Caleb Johnson, who we covered last week, leads the nation or close to it in yards after catch or yards after initial contact. If it wasn't for his 75-yard run and touchdown, which you've got to give him credit for, the MSU defense would have held him for, if my math is correct, 30 yards on 13 attempts, which is just over 2 yards per attempt. So fantastic job. After the Oregon game, I think we were all a little sus on the run defense, but this week answered it. Of course, the big 75-yard run that would have gone 1,000 yards because he just took off. But very, very encouraging, particularly, Jonesy, as you mentioned, because of the defensive line, the offensive line. I mean, this is the first game that I can think of this year where they dominated up front. Like, is this the best Plum that you've seen from that outfit so far?
Well, which is still not saying much, but I think it certainly was. I mean, creating the gaps that they did to support the run game, I have concerns, obviously, about our inability to close out the red zone, which we can get into. But having progressed the ball as far down we did to get within range of Jonathan Kim's Godfoot to do the rest of the work for us is in and of itself its own sort of, I guess, victory. And I don't know what, I mean, this is improvement, right? And so if we go back to the early days of the season when we talked a lot about what Jonathan Smith rather was saying would be a hallmark of this team. He talked about progress, incremental, game by game, little by little. And we certainly plateaued that progress, at least as far as Oregon and Ohio State went. That didn't feel like there was much progress, though we kind of tried to bullshit some here or there. But I feel like we definitely hit progress again today. This was an opportunity. Nick Marsh back in the throws, back in full form, being able to kind of create that depth, create more options. Again, take a little bit of pressure off the O-line. So altogether, I think the team, you had more, I guess, that teamwork process, which is, I suppose, what you're saying. And is, I guess, the progress.
Yeah. Nick Marsh with 8 receptions, more than anyone else, more than 5 for Montorie Foster, more than 4 for Jack Velling. So clearly becoming the dude there, like progressing at an impressive clip. And he really, when he's there, he opens things up for everyone else. Montorie Foster can't carry it all by himself. He's not Jonathan Kim, but he's a great piece to have if, a Nick Marsh is there to take their best shot. There was that play where the defender, the corner, got both a holding and a pass interference call on trying to cover Nick Marsh, which I'm not sure I've ever seen that before, called on the same dude at the same on the same play. But also we've gotten this far in. We haven't talked about Aiden Childs yet. And I know, Plum, you mentioned getting that far, advancing the ball that far and not finishing it. But is this the maturation, Jonesy, that we've been waiting for? That he's operating within himself. He did throw 1 pick, should have thrown 2. but got that out of his system, was very efficient, made Cade McNamara look like a total chump. Even more so than your head coach being like, Cade, you're our quarterback until it's scoring time, and then he's our quarterback, which I still don't understand, Kirk Ferentz. But Jonesy, what did you think about Aiden in this game?
Yeah, I watched the game with a Hawkeye, and I will say early on, those two, the pick and then the almost second pick, I was like, yep, that we're gonna do this.
That's
again.
Our guy.
And then ends up going 22 for 30 for 256 yards. Everything after that was in control. I mean, actually, his one touchdown pass was a pro level throw, opposite hash, like fade to the end zone. I think it was it might have been the 37-yard, which doesn't account for the yardage across the field too. It was an electric pass. Yes, we're seeing better footwork. To Plum's point, and Childs brought this up in the post game, which is that like that stat line sounds great, 20 for 30 or 22 for 30 for 256 or whatever it was.
Yep.
But need more TDs. And so I appreciate that he's both pleased with himself and unsatisfied, because I think that's what you want for a maturing quarterback is like, I saw it got better. I did better. Growth is real. I'm feeling it. This is a productive game that means that the Spartans can win, and knowing that he has more that he can do is still unsatisfied. So I think this is everything we've been asking for out of him. And I think that first pick was that just bad footwork maybe?
I don't know. There were no picks as bad as McNamara's pick. My God. Like, it came at the right time. It was the universe delivering that pick, and because they should have turned it over the play before. But speaking of unsatisfied, I've been thinking about what you said. Jonathan Kim gets 6 field goals, 7 attempts, which means we stalled out in the red zone. I have decided, I'm telling myself that doesn't bother me. I'm glad that we're putting points on the board when we're in those situations, but you are dead inside. Tell me about your feelings about not fully completing drives.
Okay, well, it's a both and here. I think two things can be true. We can walk and chew gum on this. First is I 100% agree that under, and I won't even name him, our previous offensive coordinator's play calling, we would not have kicked any single one of those field goals. We would have absolutely attempted on the 4th down, and we would have turned over on downs every fucking time. And so we would have lost 20-0 in this game, or 7. So that is true. Getting the points, taking the easy points is absolutely the correct strategy. On the 3rd down, the inability to convert, the inability to get into the end zone, this is a problem. We did not have the consistency. We cannot be a program that is setting school game field goal records. It is not tenable for long-term success because it proves the point you're not getting the job done. We can point to the little couple successes that he had, one on the field, one in the air. Okay, I liked his legs. One of the times the umpire got in his fucking way, and he would have probably run for a 1st down if the clown ass hadn't gotten him all fucked up. So that's frustrating, but that's football. The things that he was in control of, we still are not seeing an elite level. So yeah, I love to hear that there's one in a whole game, in a whole Big Ten game, there was one pro level pass. Not sufficient. Woefully.
Well, the only thing I'll say, Plum, is that I don't know that Aiden Childs is making throws that Will Howard and Gabriel at Oregon are not capable of making. Cade McNamara certainly isn't. So
no. Cade McNamara has fucking fish arms. He's just slippery. He's just slippery.
Fish arms.
Slippery kind of guy.
I'm just saying that even the two best teams in the league, I don't think have quarterbacks who can make pro throws.
Well, to be fair, they can make throws with consistency, which ours cannot or seems not be able to. I know. But listen, it's my job to be a dick to the kid, and I relish it. It brings me joy, profound and unsatisfiably quenchable joy. But it's
a joy that you don't get any other way, right? Not in your personal relationships, not in your
physically unable to get.
Yep.
So I'm going to relish what I can. I just think, listen, progress is progress. That's where I started. Maybe that's where I should just leave it. Progress is progress. We saw that in this game. This was a fantastic fucking win at home, and I'll just be happy with it.
Do want to briefly return because it's adjacent to the run game, because we did see Aiden Childs actually run the ball substantially more than we had previously this year. He goes, they're counting it as 11 attempts. I don't know that it was, I think it might have been 9 actually, but for, gained 70 yards. I think there's 2 sacks that are counted in there, but gained 70 yards with his legs. The long was 26 with it, which was an incredible run in its own right. I'm hoping that we start to see a little bit more out of that from a play calling perspective, because it certainly helps.
Is there a column in the box score for how many trucked line umpires there are? He did over the course of the game.
Yeah, thrice.
Pretty good. I don't know if that's a program record or not, but pretty solid. I'll take that.
But we also saw, I think it's worth mentioning, early in the game, I was a little concerned even. We saw 2 freshman running backs in the game, which Jonathan Smith was asked about afterwards, and it was just a matter of they'd earned it in the bye week. And so we saw Brandon Tullis and Mekhi Frazier both get attempts. Tullis ended up with 4.5 yards per carry, and Frazier with 4 yards per carry. I think unless there's more from the game itself that you all want to chat about, I do think it's also worth talking about how they approached the bye week, and we get this result. I don't know that I thought we had a decent chance of winning. I didn't think we were going to spank Iowa like we did. Didn't see that 100%. Coming.
Not in the first half. Not in the first half at all. And I think this is just what I say. I don't understand. I would never have. I mean, Indiana's having a great season. We'll talk a little bit about how or maybe we won't this week. I don't know about how their quarterback seems to have died or gone to heaven or something, or in the process of it actively dying. But Iowa, typically a storied program. This felt very, very nice. Watching Kirk Ferentz just look like a fucking chode on the sidelines, not really knowing what to do, gave me the most joy I've had while watching a football game on YouTube TV. Loved it.
Why do they decide to have Cade McNamara most of the time, but then in the red zone, entirely different? I mean, it worked. Like, if it worked, it seems like that guy should be your quarterback the whole game, right? I don't understand this.
Here's a question for you. If Cade McNamara hadn't transferred, is he starting at the school down the road right now?
Yes, he absolutely is. And they would love to be. I mean, they would hate him this year, but they would love to have him have not traveled home with the team at Iowa, to have just gotten in his Jeep Renegade or whatever it is and driven down to Ann Arbor. They would take that in an instant right now.
But to your point, the hilarity in all of this is that whoever that dude is behind Cade, who plays in the red zone, is so bad, clearly, at either reading a defense and or throwing a ball, that he is not capable of passing Cade McNamara, who, if listeners don't know, in the spring game went 8 for 24. Cade went 8 for 24 after 5 weeks of playing the exact same team. Could not do better than that.
Well, the reason that he did that is 8 plus 24 is 32, his age right now, basically.
Isn't that a Kobe thing?
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Wasn't Kobe 8 and 24?
Could be. I don't know.
Wow, really doing
Some
really
of
doing
us,
this. That's
some
good.
of us don't really care about Kobe. I know that you idolize him and you think that he did no wrong ever. You've said
Mamba
that
mindset.
multiple times. But some of us could leave it on Kobe. Thank you.
Cool. Hashtag
All right.
Should we talk about this schedule now that we've got a very substantial win here?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I think listeners will recall from our season preview, we always described this time of the schedule as the eye of the hurricane. You know, we had our hardest games, Ohio State and Oregon. This is the breath of fresh air where we get Iowa and Michigan as we prepare for ranked Indiana and Illinois. Of course, we've been characterizing it this way the entire time. You can go back and listen. Again, that is ranked, what is it, 20 Illinois and ranked number 13 Indiana, keeping in mind that Bama is 15. So I got it. Like, there's what? There's 4 wins now. Games coming up against the Weasels. We'll cover that in just a second. It is hate week. Then Indiana, the true hate week. Then at Illinois, Purdue at home, and Rutgers at home. Purdue and Rutgers are not doing well right now. So 4 wins. You need 2 to make a bowl game. You need 3 to go somewhere worthwhile, basically. I'm beginning to expect, and I texted you guys this earlier, the line opened against Michigan at MSU plus 24. It's now moved to 6.5. That's wild. And that's what happens because that program is in complete free fall right now. And we are ascending. So I'm looking at next week. And then, of course, the Forks Down game as 2 scrumptious little morsels. Forks down today, Plum. Forks down tomorrow. Forks down forever. What are your expectations for this team now through the rest of the season?
As the poet Cade McNamara once said, what happens if we win out? Like, I don't know. I mean, Michigan feels very gettable. It feels like I've swapped my mind on instead of like, oh, we've got a shot because it's a rivalry game. I'm now like, they have a shot because it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
Like,
I know
that has flipped for me. I really actually respect Coach Sig a lot. I don't when they did Big Ten Media Days, I believe, or maybe it was before this when he got hired, and someone asked him, like, what do you say to someone who might not know who you are? He's like, Google me. All I do is win. And I really respect that guy. Like, he clearly can coach. So I'm not willing to go so far as to say that we're going to beat Indiana, but it's also Indiana.
Correct.
Like, he just brought over James Madison University to Indiana. So, you know, does that make Burt the hardest game on our schedule?
It speaking of flipping, it feels like the Michigan and Illinois games have flipped in terms of what you have to be most worried about for road games. But that's an Illinois program that we beat last year. So
so we're at 3 losses.
Correct.
What kind of bowl do you go to if you go 9-3?
Are you suggesting 9 wins?
I think I might have said that at some point in time on this podcast earlier this season. But I wouldn't be feeling. I will say this though, I wouldn't be feeling that way if we hadn't seen Michigan State just run the ball effectively. Yeah, I would be as down as I've been on this team all season. If that there is no world that I did not, as optimistic as I might have been about beating Iowa, I did not see that coming. That feels like something clicked.
Yeah, something worthwhile. And you're right. Like, credit has to go to the staff for taking the drubbing that they did 2 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone takes a breath. You use the bye week, and then you come back, and like we've talked about, you win a winnable game against a peer institution. That is what you want from your staff.
Well, and you did it at home, right? I mean, you do it at home. Like that's, I know that it's homecoming and I don't really care about that, but the fact that you do it at home, I mean, it's you putting up 7 on Ohio State at home. That is indignifying. I mean, there's just nothing redeemable about that scoreline. And this is more than a win. I think you should point. This is a deeply, deeply meaningful win because of the way that it happens and because
program
it happens.
Win?
I won't say it. I won't use the words.
Did they make hats for this? Mark was there to say
Mark
hey to Kirk.
was there. Mm-hmm. And we all remember their best buds going back to their time as coaches.
I mean, look, though, Mark D'Antonio said routinely that Iowa was the kind of program that he wanted to model his own program after.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point in time, we all kind of got a little big for our britches when he would say stuff like that. But there's talking to a Hawkeye fan last night was absolutely furious that Kirk Ferentz has not been able to do more with that program because he had over a decade in the West where all you had to do was beat up on idiots and you got a chance to play for a playoff berth every year.
Correct.
Like, how can you not pitch that as a, but all the same, Kirk Ferentz has built a DNA for a successful football program. Iowa can't throw the ball, and they're still a hard out.
Yep.
They beat up on Washington in a resounding way the prior week. Like, Jonathan Smith is saying some of the exact same things Mark D'Antonio said about how he views Iowa, which is that they play the brand of football we would like to play here. And so that to me, I don't know, like beating Iowa like this in the way that Iowa, we didn't beat them like we're Ohio State. We beat them like we were going to be a better version of Iowa. Mm-hmm. And that to me, I think says something because that means that's building towards you are not an easy out in the Big Ten. You are always someone you have to compete against. I can't say enough about, they took the rest they needed. Their Wednesday practice, they played ones-on-ones to like have people hit each other hard coming into this game. I don't know. Like this staff seems to not be idiots.
And it's paying off. We've been texted, Jonesy, you and I, by some hockey bear person about how current Pitt commitment and 4-star Belleville player Dotson is coming to East Lansing on an official. So he was already here this weekend. He saw the Iowa game, and he's coming back. 4-star guy. We've been talking about recruiting and how that needs to improve. I mean, it seems like things are happening right now.
And we should mention, since you brought it up, our recruit out of Frankenmuth, whose name is escaping me, did just get upgraded to a 4-star. Mm-hmm. So Greg now likes him. But
yep, he's better now. We like him now. We hated him before, but now we like him.
Yeah, that's good. Really nice.
So I don't know. 9-3. Yeah, we're all on board. Great. Like that's a decent bowl game.
Plum 9-3, right? 10-3 after the bowl game.
After the bowl game, 10-3, which, to be fair, is what I had said at the beginning of the season would be the only barometer of success for the program.
Making a bowl,
going 10-3.
Couch brought this up in his article that for the first time, Jonathan Smith said we only have 5 regular season games left, indicating that even Smith sort of has shifted his eyes towards we might be able to do something.
Well, as well he should. If you put the hammer down on Iowa like that at home, you should have no problem dispensing with the rest of the teams we have left in the as he says regular season. So onward. Onward.
Yeah. All right. Hoops. I did not watch it. Michigan State had its media days. So Tom Izzo spent over an hour in front of the media answering questions. I have not watched it yet.
Was he answering questions the whole time, or did he just ask them to play the music and he danced for 45 of those minutes?
Bopped around. It was awkward.
Yeah.
It was awkward. But he was doing it to old polka music, and there's a certain character that you get from Tom when the accordion comes out that you can appreciate, and I was here for it. To be honest with you,
is he from the UP?
I'm not.
I'm unsure. I'm unsure. I haven't heard recently.
He's actually from the Wisconsin side of that demarcation, so technically no. But the man likes his accordion polka hits. That's for sure. Listen. I think it's something. I mean, this podcast. So I mean, ostensibly, he's not retiring, folks. That was the message that we received loud and clear on the Media Days 4-hour polkathon, and I think that's something. 30 years. He needs 10 Big Ten victories to match or exceed Bobby Knight. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So he deserves it. His 8. Well, I'm reading this off the free press now. 8 Final Four appearances are the most among active Division I coaches. His 26 straight NCAA tournament appearances are an all-time record by a coach at one school. Take that, Mike Krzyzewski. I'm not going to finish that sentence. And this is great. This is great. Listen, I was on here at least at one point last year saying, Tom, if you can't figure out how to coach in the world of portals and needing a 5 that's at least 7 feet tall and using all of your scholarships and not running 1,300 rotations through the course of the fucking season, then you absolutely must retire. So I'm not sure which of those things he's improved upon.
You know how basketball coaches sometimes will hire like an offensive or defensive coordinator and just hand over that part of the game. Beeline famously did that. It seems like Tom Izzo needs to hire a general manager and hand off management of the team and other things. Like Kevin Pauga, you do this now. You handle the recruiting. I'll show up for the recruiting events, but you handle the board. You handle who we're using scholarships, all of that stuff. You do those things. I focus on coaching the dudes. That's my job. And I think he would be happier for it. And I think the outcomes would be very positive. So I'm advocating for that right now.
Good.
Well, he did, speaking of recruiting, did say that, indicated that he's being negatively recruited against as it relates to his retirement. And he was like, do it. I dare you. Like, I haven't seen him get that heated about recruiting. I don't know, ever. Like,
well, it used to be they didn't really let him talk about it at all. So, listeners, if you're not following basketball recruiting, he is getting out recruited on the really high end talent a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay in the long run.
All right. Let's also mention. Let's do a little hockey, and then we'll wrap up with our most disappointing child. Hockey did some hockey. They beat Windsor.
That's Windsor of Canada, not Windsor of Great Britain. That would be a more interesting game, I think.
Yes, the Queen's dead body in ice skates.
They actually bring out Lizzie in a box. They push her out on the ice.
They use a frozen corgi turd as a puck.
As the puck.
No.
They had, I'm told by our hockey our hockey bear that their goalie's pretty good. Probably because he's like 32. He's Cade McNamara age. But he did let in 2 shorthanded goals that MSU scored on the same Windsor power play. So that's incredible. Like, shorthanded goals happen, but 2 on the same Windsor power play. Very good. So I
would be immediately trying to shove the stick as far down my throat as possible in front of other human beings, just to so that something more embarrassing could have happened than that.
So the guys are going on the road to Canisius. Pretty solid program. A little bit better than Windsor for a couple games. And then I believe it's Ohio State at home the week after that. So the Big Ten Hockey Conference games are starting soon.
Excellent. And then we'll also mention that women's soccer went to Oregon, tied, and probably is not going to win another Big Ten title.
It would be impossible to win the Big Ten title outright by season alone. They could, of course, pick it up in the tournament. They probably will. Their loss at Washington, unfortunately, combined with all of the ties that they had. That's what I was saying earlier a couple weeks ago. The word undefeated was carrying a lot of water there. So the bag has burst, and it has drained all of the water. And unfortunately, they're sitting, I think, in 4th or 5th maybe in the stacks right now in the Big Ten. So not unimpressive. I mean, one loss is still not bad, but the ladies in a couple clutch situations have not been able to score. So yes, 2-0 hosting Wisconsin, and then we beat Northwestern today there in Evanston, 1-0. So
they are technically 4th right now behind undefeateds, USC and UCLA and Iowa. So,
where Kirk Ferentz's wife Martha is the coach. Could be. I don't know.
No one knows for sure.
Listeners, no one listening knows the answer to that question, and so you should have rolled with it.
Improve me, yeah. Yep.
Honestly,
someone would have searched it. Someone is searching it right now. It's you,
well,
I believe.
If you're going to search for something, you should go on Instagram and look up @mamas.merc on Instagram, because Mama's Merc is our preferred place to eat when you are heading out of Southeast Michigan on your way up to East Lansing. You got to be taking 94. If you're taking 96, it's not going to help you out. But I guess you could get off at 52 and then drive a very long way down.
Go south forever.
But if you're on I-94, you're going to want to stop at exit 153. That's Clear Lake Road, because Mama's Mercantile and Eatery is where you should be eating. Check them out for MSU game days if for some reason you're not actually heading up to East Lansing. They got a Go Green Olive Burger. That's a half-pound locally raised beef, cheddar cheese, house-made olive sauce, lettuce served with fries and dipping sauce. Of course, they got $3 domestic bottles. They got some buffalo chicken dip, and they got some hand beer-battered onion rings. That feels like the verbiage on that is off.
No, you got it.
Hand beer battered?
Yeah, beer batter that hand.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like in
it's
Atlanta,
hand battered
where they have
with
battered hands for dinner. It's like that.
Anyway, they got sound on the TV, and that's what you want, because I didn't get to watch the Iowa game with sound on, and so I missed the Matt Sheehan shout out by Noah Eagle. Which is pretty freaking cool.
Good for Matt.
That was rad. But if you're not gonna hit them up on a Saturday, you should go for the Lions game instead, where they got a Honolulu burger, beef, cheddar, grilled pineapple, barbecue, mayo, lettuce, fries, dipping sauce. It's all great. Same specials. Check it out. Mama's Mercantile off of Clear Lake Road. Can't miss it. You're an idiot if you don't go. Tell them Can't Read, Can't Write sent you, and you get 10% off your bill. That's CRCW. They'll know what you're talking about for 10% off your bill. Gentlemen, should we head off Grand River?
Let us. Yes.
So Tony Bennett retired.
This is first coach to ever lose with a seed against the 16. Tony Bennett, that one. Finally caught up with him. Finally, he retired in disgrace from that moment.
Was this before or after he had the Alzheimer's singing with Lady Gaga?
He hasn't left the first round since he won the national title.
Other than the Natty, yeah, they've lost the first round game every other year for like the last 7 years. Remember when they were like a speed bump for us in the NCAA tournament like 6 years in a row? It seemed like we played Virginia a bunch for a long period of time, and then we just never saw them again. This is wild. Like a national championship winning coach hanging it up a week and a half before basketball starts.
Well, so let's talk about that.
And especially after someone asked him about it, and he said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, like, if you're doing this, you're in it, which apparently a liar, a complete and total liar. But he stated how college basketball is unhealthy and he's no longer in the best position to support the team. So, Jonesy, what did you want to discuss in all of this?
Well, because he's a real piece of shit. Because the fact of the matter is that he's done this in such a way that, you know, as Michigan State fans well know, when a coach retires, a transfer portal window opens up for your players. Now, in all likelihood, getting on another team is probably not going to happen at this late stage in the game, but isn't that all the more the point? You forced this collection of human beings who have committed to play for you to continue to play at a place that they may no longer want to be.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time believing that Tony Bennett woke up one day and was like, you know, yesterday I was all in and today I'm not. Like, you're a selfish prick.
Yeah.
You're getting paid an insane amount of money. So it's been reported that there's not health issues. So, like, God willing, that remains true, and what I'm saying doesn't end up sounding god-awful. But if there's no health issues, no family health issues that he needs to attend to, then just take your fucking paycheck and do what you promised those kids you were going to do.
Right.
You
at least for right now.
Of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yes, that's right. That's right.
But quitting a week and a half before the season kicks off, you're a selfish prick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. He did try to address some of the criticism by basically saying, yes, but I'm also a piece of shit. So I thought that was helpful. At least it was self-aware. You know, I don't know. I think, well, first, I co-sign everything you just said. The second thing is, at 55, what an absolute self-own to hang it up because you're a square peg in a round hole was the language that he used. Fuck you.
Tom Izzo's a square peg in a round hole.
100%. 100%. And Tom Izzo is just trying to figure it out. Do you know why? Because he has integrity and because he loves the game of basketball. You have a national championship in the last 5 years. It's true that Tony Bennett has not won an NCAA tournament game since winning the national championship in 2019. That is a problem, to be sure. There may be forces at Virginia who are basically like, you got to go. I can promise you those forces are not saying it on October the 14th or whatever the day was he announced it. So none of it's really square until we find out that he's been masturbating on the phone with, I don't know, someone else recently. Something's probably going to drop soon. I'm not totally sure because none of this makes any sense. But blaming it on NIL, blaming it on the portal, if that's really what this is, what a cell phone. You are an embarrassment. You should be ashamed of yourself. Is that wrong?
When this hit my phone, Plum, I completely agree with you. I was expecting personal scandal involving Tony Bennett incoming.
And I'm going to feel terrible if he has a terminal illness. Then I'm a piece of shit. A full apology, rescind everything I've said. But until such time, Tony,
not passing the smell test. It's wild that this happened this close to the season, and it's wild that he's like, I don't know how to deal with these kids that actually get a little peace these days. I'm out. Other coaches have done that too. I mean, that's fine.
But at 55, the guy, 75.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Even 68, you're like, you know what? I've made my money. I've got investments. You know what? Someone's more energetic. And I don't want to spend 4 years figuring it out. And then I'm 72. You're 55, my guy. Spend 2 to 3 years learning. You should have been spending the last 2 to 3. But it's still not too late. You're UVA. You're still a program. You're an East Coast, solid fucking program with a national championship under your belt in the last 5 years. You've got panache. You're relevant still. People look at you. the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I can see leaving a job at a school. Like, let's say you're the coach at a school that wishes they were as good as Virginia, but you're in Southeast Michigan and you can't get any NIL contributions, and so therefore you can't put together a competitive roster. I could see leaving that job for a better job. Now, you wouldn't do it now still because that's just not the cycle of hiring. So, if he wanted to compete and couldn't in this landscape because there wasn't support from the fan base, I could understand that.
Yeah.
But this is, you've got, why am I Patino at fucking St. John's,
right?
Competing at
still in the game, still reinventing himself, making it work. Let me ask you this question. Everyone agrees. I don't know how to cite that, but 55 years old is literally like smack dab of the most productive years of your career. At 55, you are at your level best. This is the highest rate at which medical practitioners pay malpractice insurance, particularly for surgeons, because you are like, if you need brain surgery, find a 55-year-old. They are going to do the absolute best job. That's they're the guy or the gal. They are the person to do the work. You just acknowledged and admitted that you're leaving your career at the height of what is supposed to be your excellence because you don't understand and cannot navigate the prevailing forces in your sport. So now what are you going to fucking do? Are you going to go wait tables somewhere, you stupid idiot? You've disqualified yourself from any commentary position because you don't know the game anymore. You've just said, I don't know the game anymore. I can't keep coaching at this. Then you're useless. You can't do anything. You can't offer commentary. You shouldn't be writing. You shouldn't be supporting recruit. You should be doing nothing. You should go become a Walmart greeter. No offense to Walmart greeters. It seems a massive difference from elite level Division I basketball coaching. So I don't know how, this is what I'm saying, the self-own. You're fucking yourself every way to Sunday. This just it doesn't pass the sniff test. I don't understand the rationale behind it. It is backward on every level. I don't understand.
But I guess the thing that bugs me is because Jay Wright retired 2 years ago?
I believe so.
But
yeah.
What was he? 69?
No, 60. Okay. And so
you just want him to be 69.
Nice.
I think we all do.
But like Coach K getting out, thank God. But old as sin,
80.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Roy, same thing, right? Old as hell. I don't understand, to your point around the age plum, basketball is particularly perplexing because it's always been the sort of dirtiest of the sports as it relates to the sort of secret money being funneled around, illegal activity and recruiting. Money is not new to basketball.
Right. Agents, the shoe stuff, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's just public, and so there's these dudes who are millionaires, who are like, I can't deal with this kid making money. Like, what kind of withholding piece of shit are you? Now, I will co-sign on the idea that an 18-year-old is making $1 million+ and you've somehow got to navigate that. They're probably annoying, like undoubtedly annoying. The families that come along with them and the payday that they see, and like, oh yeah, for sure this sucks. Like from a manager, and it's not even we don't have a great system around it, so like it's a real pain in the ass to navigate.
It's a mess. Yeah,
I get it. But my dude, you make millions of dollars a year, and I don't make that kind of money, but I do know, I can appreciate that when you get compensated at a certain level, there's an expectation that comes with your job, and that like we all give up a lot in our lives because of the money we make, and the more money you make, there oftentimes is an expectation that you give up more of your life. And that's the bargain for exchange. So if you're making $3 million a year, shut the fuck up. Like, just do your job.
Yep.
What are you going to go coach? I think Walmart greeters, was he going to go coach high school? Because the game's purer there? Like,
right. That's good. Maybe he is, though. Good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. Like,
Tim Walz, baby. Tim Walz it up.
Honestly, if the only way Tony Bennett can reclaim respect for me is if he does that. If he goes and coaches high school, then I'll be like, all right, man, you weren't full of shit.
That's awesome.
You weren't full of shit.
You all you cared about was the sanctity of the game, so you went and found the purest form of it.
Yeah.
A boys' locker room filled with Axe body spray. Basketball.
And pimple patches.
Yep.
All right. Anything else that we want to do off Grand River? We already covered Joel, so I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Twitter questions?
You know,
should we preview the Wolverines?
Preview this Wolverine game?
Yeah, but I didn't make him a banner. They're not worth it. Hold on.
It is.
Always forgets it literally always forgets the banners for the game preview.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Speaking of people dropping the ball and needing to do better and humiliating themselves.
Wow.
Here we are.
Wow.
Plum, let me ask you something. If you opened a university and you were picking a mascot, would you choose an animal that is an asshole loner that has been hunted to extinction in your state already? Would you set out to find a mascot and end up there under any circumstances?
Yeah, probably, because at that point I would be very stupid and dumb.
Yes, you would be an idiot, and thus
I would be going for the Michigan Agricultural College dodo bird, and then barring that, because it had been at least 100 years of extinction, I would go and default to the wolverine, and I would the raccoon's inferior cousin.
Yeah. So the University of Michigan, just as a reminder, they are the Wolverines, which is an animal that doesn't even exist in the state anymore. And population recovery of the Wolverine.
Much like their student base, largely not from the state.
Correct. Correct.
Very good. Very good.
And much like the student base, population recovery very difficult because of slow reproductive rates, and because nobody, not even other Wolverines, like having them around. So it's impossible to reintroduce them back into these types of environments because they can't actually maintain a population. So because there are so few actual Wolverines out in the wild, and because they are such loners and so geographically sparse, most of the population apparently is entirely inbred. So it's the stupidest, meanest, most
inbred,
just inbred idiot animal on the planet that just attacks everything out of a deeply insecure place. And they were like, put it on our university logo, put it everywhere. It's our icon. We love them.
I thought for sure you would point out their potent and very smelly anal sex glands, which of course they use for signaling their sexual perversions.
They go cruising.
Yep. Just cruising,
ass out.
Just Ann Arbor just smells like one big leaking toilet as they attempt to attract one another. Unsuccessfully, as we've covered so far.
We might add. Well done. Well said.
We should also point out, we should give them some credit. Some of their students go on to do spectacular things. In the news this week, we found out that NRA president is a University of Michigan alum, who apparently he and his fraternity skinned and barbecued a cat during their time on campus. So lovely people, the cream of the crop over there at the U of M, for a lovely mascot and an even better institution.
And to that point, I just want to name, Doug Hamlin, a noted alumnus of the University of Michigan, while a fraternity boy, president of his fraternity, Alpha something, who cares what, cut off the paws to a cat, strung it up, and then light it on fire. Mm-hmm. This is an adult person. This isn't a 5-year-old pulling the cat's tail because they don't fully have a conception of what life is. This is sort of things you learn at 5, 6 years old. This is a 20-something-year-old elected to a leadership role among his fellows who's actively mutilating a living thing and lighting it on fire. I just don't even know where to begin. And it is, I want to really underline this point. It was so distressing to employees of the NRA that they've asked that he resign because they are, quote, concerned for their safety. This is employees of the largest entity advocating for the almost wholesale dysregulation of the gun industry. The one thing that makes them worried for their safety is the appointment of a man who mutilated a cat at 21. I don't even know what is more unhinged in this story. All of it is in fucking sane. But this is great. And I just want to say, unhinged or not, nothing quite says Michigan man like Doug Hamlin and all of the bevy of assholes who are just like him from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Bevy of assholes with their asshole mascot. Just truly the worst.
Truly hellacious. And so it'll make a win feel great. Just great.
Jonesy, anything that you would add about Hate Week? This is our warm-up Hate Week for the one true Hate Week against the Hoosiers.
I hate that school. You all know that I genuinely find them to be distasteful human beings. That their arrogance is. I don't need to say anymore. I hate them. It's like they act like 1 + 1 is somehow different over there. That somehow they have access to learning that is unseen by other people and unaccessible. Yeah. That if you go there, you know the true secrets of the universe. Like, fuck off. Your school's just a school. It's not very good. And it's a shitty college town.
Yeah. Fuck off. You're not even the best academic school in your own athletic conference. And now, with its expansion, even less so. Moving down that ladder. So just shut up, all of you. And be gone.
And I want to congratulate you on accepting all of those kids from New York who were not able to get into an Ivy League school.
Very good.
Noted safety school, University of Michigan.
Well said. Well said. All right. And with that, you can join us every week here on Can't Write for Twitter questions. That's the time where we take your, fuck 22. You know why? Fuck you both. You already sniffed it. You've given a quick teaser, and I don't get to enjoy it. I don't get to enjoy this libation.
Do you not have 22? What happened?
I'm in a fucking hotel in Atlanta.
You didn't pack 22 on your way out?
I didn't pack 22 on my way out.
Well, let me tell you about 22. Right. It's still here.
Uh-oh. Not his favorite. Mike Jones did tell us what 22 is. I'm going to read it.
It is a mezcal. It is 100 proof.
Vago Ensemble Emigdio Harkin. And the reviews on this thing are not what we might call positive.
Yeah. I thought we were celebrating Mike Jones. Honestly, you did me dirty on this one. Because I have 2 of the 32. You remember the purple one? Mm-hmm. I've got 2 of those in my box. Would have much rather done that.
We can say this. This is where you have to be careful. If you are like me and you purchase your alcohol because of the handsomeness of the bottles, you would have been convinced potentially to buy this one because this is a very comely label.
What's it retail at?
I have it here as 3 out of 4 dollar signs, but that's not a dollar amount. It looks like 60, maybe something like that.
That's hellacious.
Pass. Yep. I'm sorry. What's the one that we did last week that Plum wasn't, or 2 weeks ago? Plum wasn't here for the yogurt.
Yeah, the yogurt one, 29.
God. Lactose intolerant. That'd have been a real mess.
Anyway, it's still a mezcal, so it's got elements to it. But I agree. I wouldn't reach for this myself.
No. All right. Twitter questions.
All right. First up, and you can email us at can'treadcan'twrite 1855@gmail.com if you don't want to engage on Eli Musk's racist platform for social media engagement.
That's Ellie.
Now spreading misinformation
Ellie
about
Musk.
the electoral system in the state of Michigan. So
Very
great.
good. Very good.
Great.
First up, Mike Jones. Is Jonathan Kim the most impactful transfer Mel Tucker brought in besides Kenneth Walker? Mike Jones.
I'm going to think about that for a second, but that might be true.
It's a very good question. I forget basically his time at North Carolina, but of course was there. Man.
I'm trying to think of who else came in that was. I've blacked out so much of the last couple of years that I'm going to say that's true. I'll allow it. Next up from Mike Jones. We are now plumb 4-0 with 7+ penalties in a game and 0-3 with 6 or less. Why is this a recipe for success?
There's something to be said for chaos. When we've talked about this in the program, it's as a staple known to Michigan State Spartans. When the world is unsteady, things are topsy-turvy.
Maybe it's raining at night or something like that.
A lot of things can ground us, like a kite in an electrical storm, fully ground us and bring us right back to Mother Nature. So anyway, I don't know. I can't say it. I can tell you that we have consistently screamed into the night about the lack of discipline of this program. But I will promise you I will stop screaming if it means that we hit 7 or 8 penalties and we beat Michigan. Then I will live with it, and I will do so gleefully.
We could have 15 penalties. I wouldn't care. Wouldn't care. And
Kevin,
finally go ahead.
I'm going to give it to you, buddy. 468 yards of offense versus Iowa, 212 yards of rushing, Mike says. Most total yards Iowa's given up since 2019 versus Wisconsin. Who saw us running for 200-plus yards prior to this game? Amazing what real coaching can do.
Not us, Mike Jones. Not anyone on this podcast. That was the biggest breath of fresh air of this entire game. On offense, Aiden Childs operating within himself and having a rushing attack owned largely to the offensive line, I think, playing really well. So if this is an indication of things to come and they didn't just use it all up in this game, I feel really good about this eventual 10-3 season that we're embarking on right now. Next up from Munfield Keg, Plum, to you. How nice is it to have actual adults on the coaching staff? I know we still have a long ways to go, but man, I feel good about the future.
Well, MFK, we are with you on this one. These are adult humans. They are not making insane and stupid sounding noises with their mouth. They're not using gestures with their hands. They're not engaging in other sort of onomatopoeia in various ways, unscripted or not, to try to make excuses for the poor performance of their team. They're not using their hands off camera in vigorous stroking motions while on the phone with noted sexual abuse survivors. I think
that was on camera, to be clear.
Wherever and however it was, these coaches aren't doing those things. They come to work. They are promoting some sort of professionalism. They seem to be holding one another accountable. And most importantly, their names aren't Ross Ells. And I think that's about the most we can say for professionalism.
I do think we need to acknowledge the one time Jonathan Smith milked himself on camera, though.
Yeah, we have to do that.
I did not.
That was very mature. It was at Oregon State. It wasn't here. So, but it is very.
He was saying milk the clock, and he did.
Was using his own utters. Plum, I was going to add to yours. We are not mixing metaphors. We're not talking about drowning people in the deep end of the woodshed or any of those types of things.
Ever confuse the drowning wet woodshed where it's very wet and not dry like you would want wood to be for burning it, because this is soggy wood that floats, which you'll need to hold on to as your team is slowly drowning in a river of cum that you've produced off camera.
On camera.
Hugely inappropriately. So,
Excuse me, on camera. We strive for a level of accuracy on can't read, can't write, okay?
I believe actually it being on camera was the very specific problem. So
because it could have been either defensible or arguable. I don't know. None of it's good, but I love these guys, and that is all right. Michael, Adam DeLay asks, "Are we back?"
Do it again. Do it again next week. If we do it again next week, then I'm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it, and it's running the ball, right? If you can run the ball 2 weeks in a row
in the big house, we're back.
We're back. We're back.
Adam, come back next week. Let us know. To you, Plum from Jason Fry, who has a worse QB, Iowa or Michigan, and why is it so hilarious that we'll see both in back-to-back weeks?
We kind of talked about this.
Call out.
You did. Well, and I'm actually having to look up who Michigan's quarterback is, and
it's unclear from day to day, week to week.
They don't know.
They don't know. Drinking and driving, dinking and dunking. What the fuck is dinking and dunking? That's what I'm saying in terms of SI.com's description of Jack Tuttle. That is not the most encouraging language I've used. So, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be Cade McNamara, right? I mean, unknown versus Cade McNamara. Cade McNamara has to be the worst of the quarterbacks. That's got to feel bad.
Rick, we were talking about this the other day, right?
We were just saying that he would have actually been preferred. So I don't know, but that's Michigan.
Well, they started a walk-on for the season.
Correct.
I think that's the bigger indictment in all of this is they have several quarterbacks, and there's this thought that they've got a freshman who they should play from the fan base. But my God, how bad must he be? Truly. That you've trotted out these 3 jabronis and still you're like, point being, Michigan, this problem is not going away soon.
And neither is your drinking and driving problem, right? Greg Scruggs, right? Jabil Preppers, right? So on and so forth. So many more.
So on and
Jeff Jackson.
So forth.
Jeff Jackson, among others. Next from Spartan 1870. How would the crowd react Saturday? How would the crowd react Saturday night if MSU came out of the tunnel in the white helmets? I think we've all seen the videos, of course, of the white helmets being swung around a couple of years ago. I think we covered that at the time.
There it is. I
do
was
it.
Like, not quite sure what the relevance was, but yeah, well done you. Well done you.
Do it.
You knew, and I think they should, and I think we'd all like it. I think we'd all be coming on camera and off. All right, next up from Spartan 18770 for Kevin Greck. How many times did you cry when you saw the O-line actually looked like a cohesive unit?
I was distracted by the tears that were brought to me with every successive Jonathan Kim field goal, but I was aware of the offensive line at the same time. I had only the emotions from one, and I was focusing on that in the moment, but I had the O-line in the back of my head, and I knew that was something we would need.
Like godlike performance out of Jonathan Kim.
Correct.
I mean, if we're calling this, okay, there must be a delay. I'm gonna just finish my thought. If we're calling this O-line cohesive, though, we're in trouble. This is not quite cohesive. This is definitely passable, but
cohesing.
Maybe cohesing, but let's not use the full infinitive there because that is a real problem. Don't actually know that's infinitive.
Last up, Greg, is Michigan a basketball school now?
So they are quite excited about a couple of their recruits, is my understanding. But I guess they'd have to be because this football program is in complete fall, and their mascot is a embarrassment.
So it makes a Hawkeye look like a valid mascot.
Yeah.
Weird.
Next up from Kate Wall, guys, the all-toxic starting 5. Maybe good players, but bad teammates. And then in parentheses, commits who didn't come here can be honorary members. I think you all know who this refers to.
Well, let's start with who our point guard is, and it's AJ Hoggard.
Yes. Oh, my God, yes. Oh,
Yes.
that's upsetting, but it's so true. It's like
shooting guard Max Christie.
thank you. God damn it, you took my 2 from me. Thank you, though. I love you. Well done, you.
Who's our 3?
I guess can Chris Allen play the 3? I don't know. We also left Corey Lucius. I guess he's coming off the bench. That sounds right because he can't dribble between his legs. Who's Kate referring to here? Is she referring to Caleb Swan again? Is this are we speaking ill of the dead right now? What is
should Miles Bridges be on this team too?
Oh yes, absolutely. The very toxic starting 5. Good call, Plum. Yeah, he's the captain.
Oh, so then our 3's Bryn Forbes.
He's the captain. Oh no.
Yeah. And I think we accidentally left off murderer Keith Appling.
Oh, God.
It's still AJ. It's still AJ.
Murderer! Oh no!
Keith can play the 2.
Oh, no, he did. He killed his own uncle or something. I mean, my
Correct.
God. Oh my.
Who's our 5? Who's our 5? Is it Draymond?
Murderer Keith Appling is our
Yes.
5. He can't move very far because his ankles are chained together.
Oh, God.
So he's got to be under the basket.
So par for the
he's our
course.
5.
Yeah, par for the course. All right. Now, next up from Kate Wall. Great question, Kate. Thanks for that. Kevin, fill in the blank. Playing Michigan is the most excited I've been for a game since blank.
Pitt? Is it Pitt?
In the Peach Bowl?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'd be more excited for it. I don't know that Pitt. I don't know that was the culmination of a year. K9 wasn't playing. That didn't. I was excited to be
excited about that game. It was
Pitt, Narduzzi.
But it was the Peach Bowl. We hadn't been to that one. I liked it.
Peach. All right.
what-
That's the answer. Last up from Kate Wall. I hate Michigan. We do too, Kate. We do too. Mike Jones.
Genuinely.
Next up. G Money Stew. Is Jonathan Kim him?
Yes. And it's capital H because it is him in the biblical sense.
Very good.
Really going to double down on this because of that comment. So
Good job.
Yep.
Good job. Next up from G Money Stew for Kevin. While that was a great win and all, I still feel like Jack Velling has been a letdown so far this season, especially after all the hype the coaching staff was saying before the season. Discuss.
Yeah, and a captain. I do think he could be more prominently featured in the offense, and I would like to see more of him. Because
I don't think this is fair. Our best receiver is a freshman that we acknowledged even on this very podcast has been developing midseason. Our offensive line has not been able to block for shit. And our quarterback continually plays fucking cowboy. I don't think this is on Jack.
I mean, I'm not saying Jack is a huge disappointment. I'm saying I'd like to see more of Jack. That's the point that I'm making.
Oh, sure. Well, G Money Stew said he's been a letdown. I don't think this is on Jack. Is I guess where
I don't think it's
back.
his fault. I know that there have been a couple times where he's missed some key blocks, and then
that time he fumbled
a fumble, and I think he's had a drop or two. But in the scope, as you're saying, Jonesy, of the season, not that bad. And someone that I would like to see more of. Guys, I think this is a round robin from G Money Stew. Favorite candy bar? It is the season.
Can Reese's Peanut Butter Cups count?
Yeah,
that's
a candy
absolutely a bar. That's a bar for sure.
Okay. Otherwise, if it's got to be a bar, then I'm going Butterfinger. But Reese's Peanut Butter
The
Cups.
Butterfinger. I don't like how it sticks to the top of the teeth. You gotta
Love that because it's like a second date with the candy bar. You get to dig it out of there, and then you get a little something.
Yeah. What about you, Plum?
I'm torn. This is new. My taste buds are changing. It would have been Reese's again, hands down, 100%. But I've been really digging the Payday of late, and
I love Paydays.
Wow.
And
Baby Roots as well.
And someone recently introduced me to the Reese's Take 5, which is basically Reese's, but it has caramel and pretzel in it, and it's also stupid. But just because I wanted to be a good researcher, I went on to Reddit to see what Redditors were saying about the best candy bar in America. And the Hershey's whatchamacallit bar is like the number 1. And that is deeply distressing to me. I don't know if I've ever had a whatchamacallit.
It's got to be a bit.
Certainly didn't stick out.
I couldn't tell you what that is. I think it's an obvious question or obvious answer. And I'm surprised that you guys haven't come up with it so far. And Jonesy, maybe this is why it, quite like yours, it stretches the candy bar. The circus peanut, right? Would be the ultimate.
He's going to say that, or he's going to say the Necco wafer. And I was really
actually, I was debating between that and the Mary Jane bar. Have you ever been handed a Mary Jane bar where it's just like chewing on wax, essentially?
Mary Jane bar feels like you need a joint.
No, there's a Mary Jane bar. And it's as if instead of like using the wax to close a letter, you just sort of nod on it for a little bit, and
it always is rock hard. Yeah, you're like, this is a very weird taffy that's like peanut butter if peanut butter was made out of dirt, and it's very not good.
Plum, do you want to guess who it's manufactured by? The Mary Jane bar, the Necco Corporation.
Damn it! I was going to say Adolf Hitler's Volkswagen, but that's fine.
It's like they took the wafers that were too malleable and they were just like, make up the Mary Jane bar.
Well, turn them into taffy and they'll just make it hard and terrible. Thanks, G-Money. That was rich. Thomas Zambiasi is up next. Mike Jones, do you guys also prefer to not post during Rivalry Week for fear of jinxing the game? Or am I too anxious about MSU sports for my own good?
I tend to not think that we should post with hubris often. I famously blame Greg very specifically for the 2016 season because of a bet he made with some Wolverines that I was forced into. But
a bet that I won, by the way, listeners.
Does not matter. That was not a good year, and I blame you for the hubris. But that's not going to stop me from talking trash about them as an institution. Whether we'll win the game or not, that needs to play out. But they're a piece of shit institution filled with piece of shit individuals. Truly, like, I don't know that. I think if they looked in the mirror, they wouldn't even like themselves.
That's the whole Wolverine thing, right? That's maybe it is a perfect mascot, as it turns out.
Yeah.
With that ass secretion situation. Next up from Thomas to Plum was thinking again about the defense chat from a recent pod. By y'all's logic, is the 2018 defense arguably the best in school history?
I don't remember this conversation.
By our logic, that this is concerning to me.
God,
the 2018 defense might have been the best. It was up there. Yeah, 2017 was also a very good defense.
Oh, that was the big Kenny Willekes season. He got Defensive Lineman of the Year. Joe Bocci was on that team. That was a good defense. I know that the year wasn't what we wanted.
Who were safeties and cornerbacks? Because didn't we send a couple dudes to the league out of that? Was Josiah Scott on that team?
Justin Lane, do you remember him? Xavier Henderson was on that.
Antoine Simmons would have been on that team.
David Dowell, Tyreek Thompson was a linebacker on that team. Josh Butler was on that team. Josiah Scott was on that team.
Yeah, that's a good defense.
Kari Willis was the safety. Yeah.
That was a really good defense. I would take that defense.
I'm on board with this.
All right.
I'm on board with this. There were like 3 Bullas on that team, maybe something like that.
I think it was 8 Bullas.
Yeah, it was one big Bulla, actually.
They all dressed up in a trench coat.
Panasuk was on the defensive line. I love me some Panasuk back in the day.
1 or 2 Panasuks?
1, 2, both. Jacob and Mike. I was thinking about Mike, but you're correct. Naquan Jones was on that team. Deshaun Mallory. This is a good. I'm bored. 2018. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, I'm going to send this next one to Plum because that was supposed to go to him. And instead, all we did was the classic group chat for guys and just read names.
I liked it, though. I liked it.
Also,
let's do this more.
Let's do this more. Guy whose dad has really good taste in podcasts, Grayson Miller, was on that team. Just saying.
Grayson Miller's dad listens to
Grayson Miller's dad used to interact with us on Twitter a fair amount. I don't know if he still listens or still does, but he did.
Next up from Ali Plum, what were thoughts when Kim started kicking off away from their returner? I was trying to understand if this is what special teams coaching is supposed to look like.
Oh, I love that. That is good. Rossell's thought that the point of the kicker was to get the ball to the opposing team so that the special teams defense return would have work to do so they could prove their mettle. And indeed, that's not right. So
Kim actually did really shitty in this game as it related to kickoffs. Not a single one was a touchback. Not a single one was a touchback.
And he won the game for us.
I said as it relates to kickoffs.
I'm saying as it relates to kickoffs, he can do anything he wants as long as we win the game because his leg is our back. And so with that,
my apologies.
We say thank you. And Ellie, good question. Kevin, Ellie asks, best MSU coached game since? Best played game since?
Dude, best coach game. We got to go back. You got to pick yourself a D'Antonio game. And
I'll give actually a Mel Tucker game.
Oh,
hear me out.
Okay.
COVID year against Michigan.
I was going to say maybe COVID year against Illinois. I seem to remember that being a game that we were like, oh, my man went in there and took that one, actually.
Did you see Ricky White's stat, by the way?
We're not allowed to look at Ricky White's stats.
About punt blocks? Ricky White has 3 punt blocks, which is one more than any team has in the country.
We have to sit here and say, good thing that Ricky White's gone. And there is nothing else to discuss. And then best played game since. Do we want to go back to the Michigan game?
2021. You might put the Peach Bowl in there too, in some ways. But
where playing does involve annihilating the opposing quarterback 2 times.
Did we hurt like 5 quarterbacks that year?
Yeah, that was our quarterbacks should be scared year. Next up from Aldi, an ACL injury update. I will be starting running this week and next are my PT coach Banafa. We're not pronouncing names. I don't pronounce names.
Maholchik. That's Maholchik.
I get the joke now. Are they conspiring together?
They should be.
Yeah, I think definitely, no doubt, and no doubt in my mind. Also, Ali, my apologies for that joke going shoof right over the head there. But yes, good to have Coach Maholchik involved in your recovery. Next up from Pepe Plum.
Plum, do you want to read this one?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm not going to join in on the hate week games. I am too respectful and don't want to give them any power in my life. But you can't spell dumbass fucking racist bitches from January 6th. I actually don't know what these ones are. Goddamn hell. Glory hole. Goat herders without U of M. Now you respectfully know. And I'm going to read this next one too, because this is also great. Beppe ends this week's contributions to the podcast with
contributions.
They are too. They're gifts. My daughter has a gift for quality men. Her first
pre-K
to 6th fiance was named Bocephus, if you forgot. Her new beau was expelled for posting a hit list. Why does my ex get to choose my daily prison? the gifted school I got them in was too pretentious, according to her. So, rant of the week. Very good. Very, very, very good.
That's
Next
what,
up,
I want to know how Bocephus is doing today, though.
Yeah, we needed a Bocephus update. We also
probably
need to
a
know
very
who
lovely
was
gentleman.
on that hit list. I'm interested.
Next up is
yeah.
Nate C. Greg, wasn't it nice for hockey to take it easy for the football team to have a little limelight?
Yeah. Just very quickly dispensing with Windsor so that the football team could get all the shine. That is Coach Knights for you. He's a program guy. Next up from Nate C. Will the fans be okay with beating scum but losing to Indiana? I feel like I'd trade that every year, but that's just one vote. Which would you choose of warm-up hate week and real hate week? Which would you choose to win, guys?
You know it's Michigan.
Yeah, it has to be.
I'm going to take a vote.
But
that's what
you know. But the thing is, dropping the game to Indiana means that you're not serious.
Yeah, that's true. This year, that's true. Unless the quarterback makes some sort of miraculous recovery and just lights us up.
Again,
no, but I mean, but like even if Michigan was good, you're a John L. level program if you can beat Michigan, but you lose to Indiana the next week
At home.
I think there's something to like the thing about beating Iowa is that you've said I'm not the basement of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I can beat a quality Big Ten opponent, which means you should not lose to someone like fucking Indiana.
All right. Forks down.
Forks down.
13 ranked Indiana. Next up,
Forks down.
Have you ever considered how awesome the U.S. is? Have you ever thought, man, this place is great and I hope it stays that way? Then vote, make a plan, go early, whatever you have to do, go vote. It doesn't have to be your entire personality. It shouldn't be scary. It should feel good after. It should feel like you just help protect our democracy. So think it over, weigh your options, consider what you want for your family and children, especially your daughters, and vote.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. I think this is a great statement and well said. And
Go
if
vote.
you vote for Donald Trump, you're going to get some fucking Beppe Plum tirade, you stupid shit. All right, next up, Momopoly. AJ Hoggard is suspended 1 game for participating in the Portsmouth Invitational. And in previous years, it's been a 3-game suspension. So why the change? And in this day and age of the blur with NILs and who's pro and who's considered not pro, what does it really matter? Kevin, why don't you speak to this?
Where did Momopoly get this data from? Kevin, where did Momopoly get this data from?
The Portsmouth Invitational Wikipedia page? I have no idea. But the last part of the question is the best part. And I think something that we discussed last week is what is the point of stopping these guys from participating in these professional pro-ams? Why? I think we encouraged AJ Hoggard and told him that it's the best thing he could do with his career to sue the NCAA and contest this suspension. Where Jonesy, do you think Momopoly is getting her information?
The idea that there's a standard 3-game, I just was like, for who? Where?
For
when?
whom? Well, Momopoly actually has a spreadsheet of all the players that have been suspended from participation in the Portsmouth Invitational, and she's our primary resource. Next up.
Oh, wait, can we also, though, just as an aside, that if there's a standard suspension for participating in the Portsmouth Invitational, then it's the dumbest fucking suspension in the world. The idea that, like, oh, there's an associated slap on the wrist for having done this thing is the greatest charade that the NCAA has in existence. That, like, oh, you've done a bad thing. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
So,
and what is Vanderbilt's first game anyway?
Who gives a shit? Next up, Momopoly. Brady Collins, Wisconsin's strength coach, dove into Lake Michigan after the Northwestern win. So, what should Jonathan Smith promise to do with a win over Michigan? I'm sorry. Who jumps into the lake for beating Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, Northwestern.
Yeah, that was my response. Also, it's Maryland Eastern Shore. AJ Hoggard will be sitting out against Maryland Eastern Shore. The more interesting thing in all this, have you seen the video of Mark D'Antonio when he was Saban's defensive backs coach shaving his head at Spartan Stadium after a big win?
No.
Who?
Mark D'Antonio. Can you believe it? Mark D'Antonio let his players shave his head in Spartan Stadium when he was the defensive backs coach for Nick Saban. It's on YouTube.
Who'd they beat?
I encourage. I think that was the big Ohio State win.
Got it.
Believe.
Worth it. Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern is a curiosity, no doubt. No doubt. Next up from Mr. Neurotic Pants, how would this be for a pregame speech? Quote, when you are out there today, you will stand tall giants among men. You must assail your opponents with hatred, violence, and no regard for safety beyond parrying the blow to your opponent. And if death should come, embrace the warmth as you head to Valhalla. P.S. Forget U of M. I tried this speech out of my nephew's Pop Warner team and was asked to leave. Mr. Neurotic Pants.
I love. What does Pop Warner even mean? I mean, what is
I don't know. It sounds like something that happened
Pee-wee.
in the 50s. Yeah.
No, I know what it is. I know what it is, but I want to know why. Why? Who is Pop Warner?
Pop Warner.
And Glenn Scobie Warner, most commonly known as Pop Warner, was an American. Okay, I'm not going to read this all. All right, he was a person. He was a person who contributed to a junior football program, which became known as what we know it all as today. All right, very good. Thank you. Asked and answered. Very good. Very good.
Are you guys fired up now from that speech?
Yeah.
That Mr. Neurotic Pants has been asked to leave?
Yeah, Pop Warner.
Second up for Mr. Neurotic Pants, Jonesy, can you name this podcast, quote, "We are Kim-evitable"?
That is the podcast with Kim, and it's co-hosted by Kirk Cousins, and it is their Bro Bible study called "It's a Bro Bible."
If that were it, then the podcast would be called Him-evitable.
Inevitable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With
all
him
right.
Capitalized.
Sponsored by Hims.
In all three letters. Hims.
Chew this non FDA approved compound to get rock hard, just like that rock that Jesus moved when he got out of that tomb.
Oh my God.
It was hard to move that, and you'll be hard.
Oh my God. Keep going. Don't stop. I can't wait until we get some more fucking emails. All right. Last up from Mr. Neurotic Pants. This week in Spartan Nation, Aiden Childs agrees to share half his NIL money with Noah Kim. So do Cal Holliday, Nathan Carter, and a few others. When pressed for more insight on MSU's victory, Jonathan Smith answers, well, ultimately, when you score more points than your opponent, you end up winning the game. In basketball, hackers and UM intelligence operatives claim that Tom Izzo will retire this year if his team makes it to the Final Four. After continually stomping Canadian colleges hockey teams in exhibition games, MSU decides next year to play the Mexican national youth hockey team, ages ranging from 10 to 17. It's good.
Get with Eve is an apple-flavored compound that will get you rock hard.
What's happening? What's happening right now? Are you okay? You're so stupid.
Next up.
Get with Eve. Okay. Okay. Mom, you're writing all of this. You're writing all this down, right? This is for your next your next sermon.
Yeah, I'll preach
Apple
it.
flavor.
It'll preach. It'll all preach. Everything preaches.
Man, it does sound like the forbidden fruit. All right.
Buy
Next
it
up,
for him.
okay.
All right. Next up, Aperitif guy. If we beat U of M Ann Arbor, is that coach fired?
Does he even have a contract? That coach, is he even hired?
He's at
Where
will.
did he leave that?
Thank you. That's a legitimate question.
I do like the idea that he
yes.
might have to literally file for unemployment because he doesn't have a buyout.
That is actually rich. Kevin, next question from the Upper Deck Jerk guys for you. Could you work the fryer at McDonald's? And I feel like of the three of us, you might be the best equipped to do so.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. I could work the fryer at Wendy's. I imagine it's similar over at the old McDonald. But I'm a one woman man, and I wouldn't do it.
Do the nugs and the fries go in different?
No, they go in the same fryer, and it can be a problem at times. It can be a problem. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Say more.
They start to glom together into one.
Well, no, because the breading of the chicken nuggets, the breading there can be an issue for some people with dietary restrictions. So there have been times where we've had to, at the request of a customer, if I remember correctly from back in the day, actually go ahead and change out the oil. Yeah.
Wow.
You said that in the present tense, and that was
you did.
Interesting.
Once a Dave Thomas acolyte, always a Dave Thomas acolyte.
When you say you work in tech, you mean you?
I mean, I hit the button on the fryer.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Last question is for Michael Jones this week. What's the hardest thing to do in sports?
I mean, I'm open to, if we're talking major sports, I still maintain it's got to be hitting a fastball from a major league pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're going outside of the major U.S. sports, then probably guessing a PK is up there as a percentage, right?
No.
But then I'm going to go.
He says.
Fine, then I'm going to ditch that. I was doing that merely to appease some soccer fans, but I think anything that figure skaters or gymnasts do.
Wait, so were you saying stop a penalty kick, or were you saying complete the penalty kick?
No, stop the penalty kick. Guessing the direction.
Yes.
Feels like a
I thought you
largely roulette.
Sorry, I thought you were making like kick score. That's not hard. No, yes.
No, that's I have decent odds at kicking and scoring.
Great.
But no, so frankly, like gymnasts are incredible athletes, figure skaters, incredible athletes. The idea that some of those, like what Simone Biles does is they've outlawed moves that she does because they're too good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. Do you guys have a different take on this? But I think
that's very Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wasn't that they got rid of the dunk because of him or something like that? I'm
so stupid. Yes, but yes. They're like, be less good at sports.
Yeah. It does feel like hitting a home run is the hardest thing to do, to sit up and hit a dinger like that.
Hole in one, maybe in golf?
Oh, yeah.
Hole in one. See, you've thought about this.
But there's no time in golf where they're like, go get a hole in one,
right.
And someone's bearing down on you right now at 300 pounds.
Because aren't you always trying to get a hole in one for the most part?
Right. And the golf ball isn't coming at you at 100 miles an hour, and then you have to hit it. So,
yeah, from an odds perspective, it's got to be the hole in one. But everything else is pretty fucking hard.
But that doesn't make it hard though, because it becomes so rare that like it's the fact that it's not done by elite people.
It's really random, isn't it? Yes.
Right. Yes. It escapes probability such that it becomes random. Whereas hitting a home run is quite talented. So
okay. Well,
we got to the bottom of it. Solved it.
We did it.
We did it. We can stop podcasting. We just solved sports.
Let's turn it off. Turn it off. Turn the whole fucking thing off.
I really wish we had that sound drop right now. Gentlemen, it was a great win. I'm actually excited about next week. Until then, go green.
Go white.
Go white.